You know, when we think of India's fight for freedom, two names just tower above the rest, Mahatma Gandhi and Subhash Chandra Bose. But here's the thing. While they were fighting for the same goal, their plans to get there were on a total collision course. So let's dive into this incredible clash of ideologies.
And that's really the heart of what we're talking about today. I mean, this wasn't just some small disagreement over tactics. No way. This was a deep, fundamental split, a battle over the very soul of the nation they were trying to create.
And this right here, this just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got Gandhi's absolute, unwavering commitment to nonviolence, ahimsa. And on the other, Bose, who was convinced that freedom had to be bought with what he literally called a blood sacrifice. Two giants of the movement with two philosophies that just could not be more different.
So, let's really break this down. How could two leaders, both seen as these incredible patriots, have such wildly different views of the future? Here's the thing you've got to understand. That shared goal of a free India, it was kind of like a mask. It hid these massive disagreements on pretty much everything. How they should fight, who their friends should be, and what kind of country India would even be if they won.
All right, let's start with the big one, the most famous clash between them, strategy. How do you actually free a nation from a global empire? Man, this quote from Bose, it says everything about how he saw the world. For him, freedom wasn't something you could ask for nicely or win through moral arguments. It was something you had to seize with force. And what's wild is that this wasn't a late-in-the-game disagreement. It started from day one. I mean, their very first meeting in 1921, Bose walked away thinking Gandhi had no real plan for the ultimate seizure of power. And that feeling just got stronger over the years, especially when Gandhi would stop a movement because of some violence, or when he considered a compromise like dominion status, which, was basically self-rule but still under the British king. And he did not hold back. When Gandhi pulled the plug on that non-cooperation movement, Bose didn't see it as a smart move. He called it a national calamity. For him, it felt like they were losing their nerve right when they needed it most. Okay, so to really get Gandhi, you have to wrap your head around ahimsa. It wasn't just a political tactic for him, it was his core spiritual belief. The whole idea was to change your enemy's heart through your own suffering and moral high ground, not to beat them into submission. And then you have Bose, who was just on a completely different planet on this. He flat out rejected that whole idea. He believed that an empire built on violence would only ever listen to one thing: more violence. That blood sacrifice line, that wasn't just talk, it was his strategy.
And this ideological gap, it just became a chasm during World War II. The whole world was on fire, and both men had to make these huge choices about who to trust and who to fight. And, well, their answers couldn't have been more different.
This was Bose's entire playbook in a single sentence. It was simple, it was pragmatic, and it was so controversial. He basically saw Britain's life or death struggle as India's golden ticket. Any country fighting Britain was a potential ally in his book. Just look at this table. The difference is absolutely night and day. Gandhi, he felt it was morally wrong to kick Britain when it was down. But Bose, he had zero problems with that. He went out and actively made alliances with Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. He even raised his own army, the Indian National Army, and declared war on Britain and the United States. So why did he do it? Well, for Bose, the fight inside India just wasn't going to be enough. He was totally convinced that without help from powerful countries, and without a real army of their own, the independence movement was doomed to fail. But honestly, the most mind-blowing difference between them wasn't about how to get freedom. It was about what to do with it. If they actually won, what kind of India did they want to build? Their visions were from two different universes. I mean, just look at this. Gandhi dreamed of a simple, democratic India, made up of self-sufficient villages. He was all about local power. Bose, on the other hand, wanted a powerful, centralized state, a country that was socialist, heavily industrialized, and, let's be blunt, authoritarian. And his plan was specific. He argued that for a while, India would need a dictator to whip it into shape. He talked about a forced march to build up industry, kind of like what the Soviets were doing. He also believed that whichever party won freedom should get to stay in power to rebuild the country. And, very controversially, he talked about creating a new system for India by taking what he saw as the best parts of both National Socialism and communism. I mean, he didn't pull any punches. This quote says it all. He truly believed India's problems were so deep that only an iron-fisted, ruthless leader could fix them.
So while Gandhi was really wary of modern factories and Western ideas, Bose was all in. He looked at someone like Turkey's leader, Kemal Ataturk, who was basically a modernizing strongman, and thought, yeah, that's what India needs.
So you hear all this, and you're probably thinking these two guys must have absolutely hated each other, right? Well, the truth is way more complicated, and honestly, a lot more human than that. What's so fascinating is that even when Bose was actively working against Gandhi's plans, he always spoke about him with incredible respect. In his radio speeches from Germany, he would still call him Mahatmaji. It's such an interesting contradiction, isn't it? Bose could believe with all his heart that Gandhi's time had passed, and that he needed to step aside for a new, more militant generation, while at the same time fully admitting that Gandhi was the one and only leader who had the love and respect of the entire country. All right, so let's boil this whole thing down. Their massive clash really happened in three big arenas. First, the means, nonviolence versus armed struggle. Second, alliances, sticking to your morals versus doing whatever it takes to win. And third, the vision, a battle for India's soul between a quiet, village-based democracy and a powerful, industrial, authoritarian state. And that leaves us with one last big question. This fight wasn't just something that happened a long time ago. That tension between democratic freedom and the desire for a strong leader to just get things done, that's a story that's still playing out all over the world. It really makes you wonder, which of these two powerful visions for a nation's future do we see echoing around us today?